Hi, beautiful people. Welcome to my chat corner. Today is chat corner. Yes. And I am in this corner to chat with you. Anyway, hi, beautiful people. Thank you so much again for sticking with the twins and for supporting our channel. Yes, I know it's not too adventurous in the sense of we go in places, but I hope whatever we put out there, occasionally it will actually strike your attention. That's what I want. And it will be edifying and it will be inspiring and it will be something that you can think on. Okay. So today's topic is come with a question. So, we were having a conversation. My mom and I was having a conversation surrounding marriage because she was watching something and it was quite painful to see what was going on for marriage. So it actually strike up a question, and this is my question before I dig deeper in the conversation. What do you think about marriage? That's the first part of it. Marriage. What do you think about marriage? What do you think about marriage? And what do you think about the marriage vow? Okay. So what do you think about marriage vow? For a while there, come like my question twist up. Okay. Should it be changed? What do you think about marriage vow? And should it be changed? Okay. So for those who are married, you probably know the vow that you will make, and the part in it is saying until death do us part. So the reason for this question is, my mom was watching a real story. It wasn't, like friction or, fairy tale. It was real life story. And, people who are married, this was a program she was watching in Africa. And in the village, most of the men that are married in the village in Africa are abusers. They drink a lot of alcohol. They abuse their woman. They deprive them because they just take the money and pour it into alcohol. And then they come in and they beat up on their woman. They beat up on their wife. And the wife have the children. The wife have all these tasks to do. And to the point that it was severe. This person could have lost her life. And that's why I'm asking the question, should marriage vow be changed? Because it seems like these people take until death really seriously. So if they are upset with you or if they are not happy in the marriage, instead of them walking away, they want to kill you to maybe fulfill the part of that vow until death do us part. Oh my goodness. And this is not just about Africa. This is all over. There, even in Europe here, people are actually abusing their wives, and to the point that some of them lost their life. This is the reality. And yes, they made that vow until death do us part. So my question is that the death do us part, does it comes in the fact that they are thinking that the only way I can separate from this woman that I'm married to is that she have to die. So I need to kill her so I can be part from her. It may sound a bit silly. Should it be changed until we find fault instead of death do us part? Okay? Should it change and until we find fault? Because maybe they would have actually probably just separated and leave this woman alive than to trying to take their life or literally taking their life. We are living in a time where marriage, you know, seems to be so difficult, where men no longer value that environment that they are able to maintain a disciplined lifestyle. And it is so scary because the reality of it is that 99% of the time, the women are suffering. The women are the one who are left with the children to fend for them. Men can just get up at whatever time they want to, leave the marriage, leave the home, leave the family, and don't even think about, whether or not their children will be fed or whether or not their children will be looked after. They don't even think about, okay, the consequences of this sort of behavior, even while they're in the marriage, beating up on their woman, beating up on their wife, I should say wife, beating even on their, relationship, beating up on their wife, and children are in that environment. The severity of it is that it is affecting the minds of our children. And when these boys grow up, they actually sometimes continue the life script that was given to them by their father, constantly beating a woman, or they're so traumatized to the fact that they don't know how to engage in a relationship. They're so traumatized that they don't know what love looks like, what love should be like, what love should feel like, and what love should act like. And so it's not just left with two adults quarreling or fighting and hitting each other. It left with the severity of the mental capacity of a child mind, where the child is so confused, and sometimes the child growing up blaming themselves, feeling guilty, feeling that it is them. They are the reason why mommy and daddy fight so much. They were the reason why there was no peace in the home. And it's so sad to know that grown adults haven't got the ability or the capability to have a civil conversation, to respect opinions. They haven't got the ability to be disciplined, to apply self-discipline, where they can have a disagreement in a healthy way and communicate it in a healthy way, than to be beaten up on each other, beaten up on the woman, to the point that some women, the state that they are in, my God. And now you wonder why some women are actually coming to a place in their mind to remain single, because what is happening, and yes, the women are strong, but when it comes on to the physical part of it, sometimes a woman cannot outrun, outbeat a man, because the structure of a man is much more larger and stronger in that way than a woman. A woman would have to wait until that man is at their weakest point to win that battle. At times, 99% of the time, a woman hasn't got that unless they find something quick and fast and severe that they can just actually do one hit and run. But most of the time, based on the structure and the build of a woman and of a man, it is always the men who win when it comes on to the physical. Yes, the woman may win with the argument, because, women are quite good in arguing a point. Yeah. But when it comes on to the physical, most of the time, you find that I was watching a program. This is a real story. It was the news of a woman. She was actually a singer, and her first husband died, wonderful husband. And she fall in love with somebody hereafter. And because of her knowledge and because of her intelligence, she was afraid to say that she is with somebody that is abusive. And she sat and she couldn't even believe herself that she could have made that mistake. And that's what is happening to many women. They sit in it and think, this is not real. How would I make that mistake to marry to a man who is an abuser? Not realizing that we haven't got 20/20 vision. And sometimes these packages come so beautiful, and by the time you recognize it, you're already in deep. It's not always visible, and it can take a long time before those behavior come to the surface. And woman should not blame yourself. Not it doesn't matter how intelligent you are. Anyone can actually be deceived. Anyone can fall into these ditch. Anyone can actually be hurt. So women out there, don't blame yourself if you fall in love with a Prince Charming and then he become a demons after. You don't have that eyesight to always see the fine prints. And yes, sometimes there's some red flag, but sometimes the first approach of the person allow you to think, okay, there's goodness in him. There's goodness. And I'm not saying that men don't go through abuse, but, I'm focusing on women. Men do go through abuse. And I'm not excusing the fact that some women do abuse men, because some men are very sensitive and vulnerable and they do get, hurt by a certain strong woman. Yes, it happens to our male just the same as it happened, but 99% of the time is the female who are suffering. Yeah? And they don't have. And so this woman didn't actually cry out for help because she was so ashamed that she make a mistake. And what happened? She's now in a wheelchair. She can't do anything for herself. Her family have to look after her. The man smashed her up to the point that every rib bone is out of joint. Her body is no longer capable of functioning. Luckily, she still have her voice. And now she can talk. Is it too late? It may be too late based on her physical status. She didn't cry for help when she could have actually get the help to escape. But it's not too late still for her to let others know that they have a voice. Don't judge yourself. Don't put yourself down. Don't think that you are silly or you're stupid. Don't think that you were too wise to make such a mistake. You're a human being. And none of us are so, powerful enough to always know whether a man or a woman, let me just drop that in, is a bad person, because sometimes they have learned to wear the mask of good behavior so well that you can't even detect if there's evil there. So just be very careful, when you're dating, and if you are able to see the red flags, don't think that you have the power to change that. If you see those red flags, don't ignore that, because it may be a warning, your only warning to say, okay, this is not for me. And that's sometimes what we do. We sometimes overlook the red flag because we think that we are powerful and our love will be so kind and empathetic and understanding that it will help them to be better. No, it's not always the case. Those people need help. They need professional help. They need to sort themselves out. If a person is a drinker, be careful of people who love the pub. Not everybody in the pub is bad, but just be careful of a person who rely on alcohol or a person who is taking drugs. There may be some underlying issues, and it's the reason why they're trying to suppress it with the substance. And if you date them, you can't take away the underlying issue. It needs to work on. Okay? So this is just a short video of a question. What do we think about marriage vow? Should it be changed? Yeah. To until we find fault. Do a spot. Okay? Because men are taking it literal. They're trying to get rid of these people because they want to move on with their life, and they feel like, okay, having the person still alive may be, okay, a barrier to their success of finding somebody else. Yeah? But just be careful, okay? Hope you enjoyed this little video, of, thinking about and something that Mom and I was talking about, marriage and marriage vow and what is happening in most marriage life. Not every marriage is like this. Let me just point that out. But people are suffering in their marriage, both male and female. Ta-ta for now. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.